Hello and welcome to Unqualified Advice, an entertaining show for entertainment purposes. Join us as we talk about running our businesses, what we've been learning, and how we're applying lessons from academia and real life as entrepreneurs and investors. This podcast is for informational purposes only. Topics discussed represent opinions represented by parties with different circumstances than your own and should not be taken as advice. Any discussion of securities or other investments should not be relied upon as investment advice. Consult your personal financial advisor and perform your own due diligence. Podcast hosts, guests, and clients of Fig Social Capital may own positions in securities discussed in this podcast. Hey, Sean.
Hey, Dan, what's up?
Labor Day weekend. We're just plugging away over here.
Yeah, you guys got any barbecues going on this weekend?
We did one yesterday evening. Neighbors had invited us over, so he did a big brisket, and
Nice.
we ate like kings, and the kids played. It's great.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah, now there's a whole bunch of people in my house right now. They're headed off to the pool soon, and then we'll just do burgers on our deck later. I think that's fine.
How much longer are pools open there? Do they close
Mid-September.
Wait, when?
Mid-September.
Mid-September,
I forget
okay.
what exactly day they're closing, but September 12, 15, something like that.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's just right around the corner. Speaking of just right around the corner, you're a week away from your accidental Ironman, aren't you?
Yes.
Is that next Saturday? How's the training going?
It's going. I did the sprint duathlon, which is like a, what was it, 5K, 50K bike, 5K run. So run, bike, run. And that went super well. It was really great. I didn't gas myself out. I laid down a lot of power. I finished it in less than an hour 45 or something. Fourth in my age group. I was pretty happy with my performance. But my Achilles was my left Achilles was pretty sore the next day. It was sore day of.
Yeah.
On that last run, it was angered. I think a lot of it probably had to do with bad form, tired form, as well as like shoes that already had 400 miles on them. So I have new shoes.
Have you ever suffered from any Achilles issues in the past?
Never. Yeah, this is new to me. So anyway, it's a little concerning. I have highly conflicting feelings about whether I should do the September 7th race. I've spent enough of this year being down and out and unable to be physical, so I'm not really looking to double down on that.
Having had to have recovered from an Achilles injury,
that's right.
It's not an easy thing. I was on my back for 6 to 8 weeks, really. It happened October 24th or something like that. I had 25th. I had surgery on Halloween. And then it wasn't until like early December that I was kind of like getting out of the house much. And then I will say mid-December, the 20th, we ended up going to New Orleans for a friend's birthday party. And I was able to get around okay there. I definitely gassed out earlier than other people though, and would go back to the hotel like halfway through the day and take a little, hour-long just put my leg up break because I was still walking around in a boot. But yeah, don't recommend it if you can avoid it.
Yeah, I think
especially without STD, like short-term disability insurance, which I'm sure you don't have.
I do not have. Yeah, I do not have that. STDs, on the other hand, no.
Yeah. I was like, no, that's
those
not
initials
right. Short-term disability.
I'm like,
I'm just
what?
used to seeing the acronym on applications. So
right. I was like, where's this conversation going?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I very much would like to complete it. Like, I know that I can complete it, so I'd like to go out there and do it. But at the same time, I'm not looking for a serious injury, and two, I'm not really looking to limp for a week after.
Mm-hmm.
So this is very much in the category of like ego versus listen to body, eat the admission fee. I don't know, but I've resolved to make a decision on Thursday, just based on how I feel. And if on Thursday night it's a go, then I'll plan to be up there on Saturday morning.
So what? It was like a couple mile run, then a 56-mile bike ride, then a half marathon, 13 mile.
Yep.
You could just walk the first run, and I don't know.
Well, that first run is a nice warm up.
Yeah.
I will say, like the first 3.1, it just feels good, and your whole body's like cooking at that point. You get on the bike, you feel great. Your legs don't have to warm up. Getting off the bike and running is a very strange feeling.
Yeah.
And to do 13 miles it really will be a test for me.
Yeah.
So, but if I walk half of that half marathon, then whatever, I'm going to cross the finish line. Is how I'm thinking about it right now.
I think that's not a bad approach given what you're aiming for, right? It's
given where I'm at fitness wise.
Yeah.
Given the fact that I've got 2 tiny kids, given the fact that I didn't get enough training in, given the fact that I spent 4 months this year sick, I'm happy to just be able to do it at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't. I mean, go for it. Go for do what you can, and don't break yourself, man. Absolutely.
Doing it at a mile elevation too.
Yeah, because we need you healthy to go to be able to go to the Philippines later on this year. Hopefully,
it's true. Hopefully, yeah. We got to get our vaccines going.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about that. So if we're planning a trip to the Philippines, what all vaccines do I actually need to think about? I was thinking about this, but I thought this might be interesting to talk about here.
I actually don't know the full list, right? Like, so when we started our world tour, we went to the doctor and just listed out like the countries we knew we would go to, and some of the countries we knew would trigger certain vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
And they got us all squared away with malaria pills, typhoid vaccine. I don't know that we got the yellow fever vaccine or not. Updated tetanus. I forget. It's been 4, 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
So, which means like several of the vaccines that I have had probably aren't, up to date anymore. I know, like as a father, they force tetanus on you, so like that is updated. I know, but otherwise, like you submit the country to your doctor, and like I don't know. I assume it's a CDC database or something that just tells you what you get. Mm-hmm. The scary part, I think, right now is Monkeypox has landed in the Philippines.
Mm.
It's isolated to the north, way far away from where we'll be. But like, my whole team's talking about it. Like it's in country now. So yeah. The United States evidently have a whole stockpile of vaccine, but I don't know that they're doing anything with it yet.
Yeah, I haven't really been paying close attention to that situation. I keep seeing some headlines about it here and there. It has not. I've been trying not to panic about any.
Global closures again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because I don't know how big of a deal it is or not at this point.
It's hard to say.
What's your perception on it?
I will reiterate the fact that like I have not kept a close enough pulse on this to like really talk. I'm out of my depth, but it does. From the little bit that I know, it does seem to be like it's skin to skin. So it's fomite. I don't know if it spreads on surfaces or not. I guess that's the word. That's fomite. But skin to skin. And again, quality of information here, don't know. But you can wash it off. So as long as you don't have an open sore, you can wash it off your skin. So it seems pretty low risk if you have high quality hygiene.
Cool.
Which in parts of the world that's
not necessarily
experiencing right now, that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. So just bring hand sanitizer with you. I'm sure you have extra from the pandemic, even though that wasn't a fomite.
That's funny. Thinking about hand sanitizer again, I haven't really thought in depth about hand sanitizer in 4 years or so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Go to your favorite distillery. They've turned themselves into hand sanitizer manufacturer.
Yeah, I came across when I was moving offices here recently, I came across an old gallon jug of industrial hand sanitizer we had gotten from some unnamed source, and that we bought by the 12 pack case or something, and I still had a bottle stowed away. I'm like, I think I can just get rid of this at this point. It's kind of all starting to gel up, and it's probably not exactly definitely.
I don't know if it goes bad, but
yeah,
the alcohol. I mean, it probably works. It's just a matter of like the stuff they put in there with the alcohol. Like what does it do?
Yeah, to keep it stabilized or in a pumpable consistency, or not just like you're pumping raw alcohol into your hands.
Yeah,
which that works too, I guess, if you need it. Well, yeah, I'm excited here. The weather's broken below 90.
Nice.
It's fall flannel weather for us, relatively speaking. I think the weather will actually break here for us in October, but it's definitely starting to cool off, and I'm ready for just the autumnal season to be upon us.
the
decorative
vibes.
gourd season.
Yeah, decorative gourd. Yes, we have a pumpkin in our garden, and we're very excited to put it on the porch. Even
How
if
big is it at this point?
I mean, it's probably 1.5 feet wide.
Okay.
Yeah,
That'll be a fun one to. Are you guys going to turn it into a jack-o'-lantern at some point? Or
it doesn't seem to be shaped like a jack-o'-lantern pumpkin. It's more like the squishy flying saucer pumpkin. So it'll be orange and pretty and decorative gourd.
Not edible.
I don't know. I'm sure. Yeah, I don't know. We have tried to roast pumpkin in the past, and it was kind of like mediocre.
Yeah, I don't know why we grow them at this point, really, because I mean, I guess just for decoration, like
decorative gourd.
Yeah, and for pumpkin pie, but outside of pumpkin pie, I can't think of a good really food application where I've had pumpkin. I'm like, yeah.
PSL.
That's pumpkin spice though. It's not even the pumpkin. It's the
there's no pumpkin.
It's the cinnamon and nutmeg and sugar.
Yeah. Yes. Particularly the sugar.
Yeah, it's not the pumpkin. It's the spices that you put in the pumpkin pie, which my grandmother always used to leave out because they would upset her stomach, which just made for the best pumpkin pie ever. It just tastes like raw pumpkin. Really, don't recommend it.
Don't recommend it. It's not even nostalgic at this point.
Mm-mm. Well, what else we got on the docket here this week?
I was wondering if you had been able to take a bit of time to listen to the Gavin Baker episode with on Invest Like the Best.
I did take a bit of time to listen to the Gavin Baker episode, and boy, howdy.
Right?
So we're sitting here talking about, obviously we listen to a lot of the same content. There's a podcast called Invest Like the Best, hosted by Patrick O'Shaughnessy, whose father, Jim O'Shaughnessy, wrote a couple of books, one notable one, What Works on Wall Street. But Patrick is a extremely good interviewer. He's extremely talented at asking, I think, in-depth and insightful questions, and he has access to a lot of really top-notch guests. I think he gets a lot better access than a lot of us ever would. And so he was talking with Gavin Baker, who is a managing partner of Atreides Management, I believe. And before that, I'm trying to remember what his background was. It doesn't matter. Anyway. Very in-depth. They had a very in-depth discussion on development of AI technology, some of the places it's going from an investment standpoint. How does it stack up as an investable opportunity? And overall, it was a very interesting discussion. But Dan, what caught your
House Atreides? It is from Dune. You know what? Like, I think there's so much. I don't know what we want to call it. Like, popular opinion, the narrative, mind virus. I guess it depends on like how combative you want to be with your language. But this sort of, to an extent, we're guilty of it, right? Like, we've talked about Zion and the fourth turning and all these different things. Even though there's like optimism at the end, it's like short term, kind of doesn't look bright. Gavin's optimism around like climate change being just so much not a problem within his lifetime. One, I want it, right? So this is confirmation bias. I want to hear that and I want to believe it. But on top of that, it does seem like it's within our grasp if we were to choose to do it, right? And I liked that sliver of optimism. I know it was just like one little sliver of this pretty wide arc that he was able to talk about at length, from data center design to like AI to, all the different semiconductor, all the things. But that's the one, I don't know why, that's what really hit my head, like my brain, and I really wanted to cling on to it. I really liked it. I liked the message. I liked the thought, and I liked, I don't know, the prognostication on the future.
Yeah. His stance basically, as I recall, being that because of the economics of where solar is going, that eventually it will make all the sense in the world that all of our energy is coming from solar or wind or non-carbon forms, and that basically energy will be, for intents and purposes,
compared to what it is today,
infinitely abundant,
free. Yeah,
close to free, which I'm a little dubious about. Some of the some of the ultimate economics there, and more than anything about the raw materials that it requires to get there, and the extraction methods. Not so much the tech that we're developing, but it's still getting the stuff out of the ground. It's the
destruction of Earth in order to build this future.
Yeah, unless we start mining asteroids, which, hey, maybe we do. You know, you go to any science fiction story where they're talking about humanity spreading across the galaxy, there are mines on all sorts of asteroids. It's just, it's been theorized, and someday wouldn't surprise me if we tried to dabble in it within Elon's lifetime, at least. We'll see. But I'm with you. I thought that was a very powerful stance, because it is counter to what you do hear a lot of doubt and a lot of, I think people just being nervous around that topic. And it's been going, we've had that climate debate going on for decades, at least since the 70s, if not long before that, probably into the Industrial Revolution era, that we don't necessarily have. I don't remember reading the papers from the time frame, so I can't remember what everybody was saying about it, but I'm sure that there were discussions going on. So yeah, I think that view of, hey, we're actually getting over this hump of dirty energy, for lack of a better word. I'm with you. It was nice. It was a nice optimistic view. I thought it complemented nicely with some of his then later thoughts on AI, which is, of course, going to use a lot of power.
Yeah, I felt, I guess one reaction, setting aside some of my wanting to grab hold of the idea and keep it, trying to be a little bit more real with the idea. I think you bring up a really good point about materials. Attached to all the different things that he is so bullish on is this idea that we need to create a whole lot more energy. However, it is the material side that he sort of didn't address, or didn't have as strong a hold of, both from the just energy sector, if you will, but also the semiconductor sector and all these different things, right? All of the stuff he talked about is going to require materials. It's real world hardware stuff that then yields the soft stuff. And for this to get so, huge, abundant, and to grow as fast as it as it probably could, is going to require, a good bit of mining.
Exactly. It's going to require a lot of raw material development.
My fear is as long as the Western world doesn't see where that mining happens, meaning it's not Switzerland, for example, you know what I mean? Take a famous mountain, Zermatt or something, it's no one's going to let you knock that down. But if you go do it where what the Western world isn't really looking, that's how I'm afraid it's going to play out.
What if the Himalayas were, what if Mount Everest was rich with the unobtainium that we need, Would we take it down a few pegs?
I'm afraid my answer right now would be absolutely not. I don't know if I'm saying that I'm afraid of that answer. I think the answer right now would be absolutely not. But if humanity pushes itself to a point of sort of turmoil, destruction, and bloodshed over energy, then at some point someone will, because the world will have fractured and atomized so much that there will be at least one power to be able to go there and do it without worrying about what the rest of the world thinks.
Well said, Dan. So one of the things we were speaking about power, and I wanted to put this little chart that I asked GPT-4o to make. I fed it the transcript from this episode, and I said, what are some of the key terms that they're discussing around the implementation of AI? The basic metrics that describe how we're using power and how these things are developing. And so basically all of this comes down to, and for those watching, you see probably a little chart on the screen that I have up to help refresh my memory here. But all of it really comes down to how the systems are interworking together and basically bouncing calculations off of each other and doing these calculations. So how many flops? Do you know what flop stands for, Dan?
I don't. No.
That these microchips for I'm not using that word. These graphical processing units, these GPUs, are performing, and for each calculation they perform, how much power is used by that, and then how much time they're spending waiting on other parts of the network, and how so some of the systems that are more advanced in that are really making strides in reducing their power is because they're spending less time waiting on other parts of the network to speak back and forth, and they are basically. I really wish I had any conceivable understanding of this to relate anything useful here, other than that it's all about power per compute and the cost, then that basically impacting cost per compute.
And to your point, like the efficiency with which all this energy is used, right? Like he was talking about certain data centers or certain data center designs. I forget exactly, but something like 18% efficiency because everything's waiting on networking, right? Like you can only push the data across the motherboard, if you will. So first, I'll go back to flops. It's floating point operations per second. So it's a unit of measurement used to quantify the computing power of a computer or processor, according to Google. But like one of the things he spent.
They should know.
What?
I said Google should know.
They should know. Yeah. They're probably like, we're past flops. We're working on the quantum, Same thing happens inside just a computer, right? Like I loved his analogy of one computer. Go build a gaming computer yourself, and you'll be more intimately familiar with each of these parts, right? Especially if you study a little bit about where these bits have to travel in order to get a particular job done. The data center's almost no different. So you've got your CPU in your computer. Same thing in the data center, except there's going to be hundreds, thousands, millions of them. You've got your data on your hard drive, and you've got your RAM or memory, random access memory, right? So it's volatile memory. As soon as it loses power, it doesn't have any recollection of what was on it. Mm-hmm. So it's your working memory. You unplug it, it's gone. Then the thoroughfare, if you will, which in a computer is going to be the motherboard, multiple systems on the motherboard, right? So, you're going to have a PCI port. You're going to plug in your graphics card there. That's where your GPU lives, if it's not integrated onto the board or onto the CPU even. Data center is the same way. Mm-hmm. You've got all these CPUs, you've got the GPUs, you've got the random access memory, and you've got some sort of, non-volatile storage, hard drive. But now networking is your motherboard in a sense, right? If the bits that you have to work on need to travel from memory to CPU to get instruction, and then further instruction from CPU goes to GPU, and then GPU works on it, and then it's got to travel back to CPU to know where it goes from there, and then it goes back to memory, and then maybe to hard drive or whatever. All that takes time, right? And in theory, it could travel as fast as electricity or light, but in reality, each one of those stops is a lot of time. And so if you can design the data center to be faster, or to move the particular bits between, surely there's a particular clog in the system, right? Like one of those steps is going to be the slowest portion. And if you could raise the floor or speed that part of the process up, you could increase the efficiency of the data center at large, right? So if you open up Systems Manager or Task Manager on your computer and you see that your computer's being taxed at like 4% while you're just browsing the web, in a similar vein here, you'd be able to see the data center only being taxed at 18%. So you've got millions and millions of dollars worth of hardware here, and you're only using 18% at a time because there's a particular place in the chain that is slowest, right? So if you could increase the networking speed, bandwidth, or the efficiency with which this data is moved between different spots, then you might, in theory, be able to see the data center go up to 40 or 45% efficiency, right? Which is more than 2x. It'd be huge. So that's one of the things he sort of riffed on for some time.
Yeah. Yeah, if this stuff interests you, I would recommend checking out the episode. I don't think it's
he can
probably
talk
fruit
about
for flesh to go any more depth past our working knowledge here. But that was a good summary of some of the issues for sure around power usage.
If it strikes you like is interesting or leaves you with questions, definitely listen to that episode because he gets into it. It's fun.
Yeah.
Lots of acronyms too, because
tons of
IT.
acronyms. So many acronyms. Just a world of acronyms. I guess the other one takeaway I had was his commentary on where he sees Tesla's FSD compared to everyone else's self-driving. I did not have, I had this perception that it's not necessarily that much further along or better than a Waymo, but he brought some points like that I really thought about.
Itself, as it stands today.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But the training data is his point. Yeah.
Well, and even his and how quickly the product itself was advancing, because they're basically building it on these GPT like LLMs on some of the training data, where between version 12.2 to 12.3 to 12.5, it was GPT-2 to GPT-3 to GPT-4 levels of advancement and how it interprets things and how much more quickly it seems that their system is starting to change. It's not so much what they're doing today, but it's the rate of change that's starting to happen there. That was the point that I took note of, because I'm one to kind of dump on Elon because I think a lot of him is showmanship, but he's also got a really good engineering mind and runs, I think, some really good, amazing projects and companies. So you got to take anything somebody says against him with a grain of salt, because he has showed results. But yeah, it interests me that they are perhaps closer on the precipice of some major advancements there than I was giving them credit for.
Yeah, and I think one of the interesting points that I think Gavin had was like, Waymo is in Phoenix and wherever else, all these like wide roads with paint that sticks because there aren't snowplows going over it and all the different things, right? Like you drive a highway here in Colorado and, it can be an 80-mile-an-hour turn and that middle dotted white line just disappears.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, seeing what the Waymo systems are going to do in reaction to that is, I guess, in his mind, a question, versus Tesla, which has like had that data for a long time and has been trained on humans intervening or correcting or
which is, it's wild that they're, it's that video data that's so valuable. They're able to take the cameras and say, here's what the cameras are seeing, and here's what the inputs that the human is putting in through the brake, gas, and steering wheel, and it's just
not gas.
The accelerometer. Do they call it the accelerometer?
Yeah.
You hit the accelerometer.
The go button.
What do they call it? They call it the juice
accelerator.
Pedal?
The juice pedal. That's what I would call it. Yeah, I like that one. Give me the juice.
Now I'm picturing like an ad campaign with a giant orange sitting there driving a Tesla or something.
Yeah.
Which,
I mean, if they just design or redesign some of the cars into something more modern, uplifted, and sexy, and then put this training data to really good use, and then somewhere in the next 5 years,
what you're saying,
stock's
you don't
gonna
like
double
the look
again.
of Tesla?
I don't. And
you think
pretty much never
they
have.
Look kind of dumb and shitty?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Unfortunately. Yeah, I know. I want to like them because, I've got 2 ICE cars in the garage, but one of these days they won't be.
Yeah. Well,
it seems a matter of time.
Probably be whoever has the first really nice hybrid you want, right?
For us, probably. I've talked to a friend who was making the trip between Colorado and Texas this year, and if you don't have kids, an hour and a half road stop is not bad. I mean, it really slows you down, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
But with 2 screaming kids, I don't really want to stop for an hour and a half to charge up, right? Like I want the 10-minute fill it up, get back on the road, and let that highway noise drift them to sleep again.
There's a new like mid-America business idea for you. Hour and a half like planned, like a little amusement where it's designed to keep the family entertained for 2 hours while you charge up your car.
Yeah. Isn't that called Bucky's?
Yeah.
I don't even know if they actually have any chargers there. It seems very gas oriented.
I don't know that Bucky's has electric chargers. They probably do, knowing them.
I would think. But yeah,
it's basically like a Walmart essentially.
Yeah.
Which I don't think it really will keep the kids entertained for all that long. But maybe they'll start adding play places back to McDonald's.
Yeah.
things like that, where it's like, oh, we took all the playgrounds away. Now we got to put them back to keep the kids entertained while we charge the cars.
Yep. I can. You have a McDonald's or a Chick-fil-A with a play space and like 18 chargers. I bet that place would kill.
Yeah.
It could like specifically in the middle of nowhere. But
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's here at exit 645 in Nebraska,
Yeah.
Where it needs to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'll be interested to watch how the world develops new business models around those things. Speaking of new business models, I actually went to the baseball game in here in town yesterday, the Astros, to take on the Kansas City Royals. I hadn't been in this year yet. I usually try to go to just 1 or 2 games a year. I'm not a huge Astros fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I like to see them do well, and I like just going to a game. It's experiential.
You're American after all. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, we had to of course get a hot dog while I was there, and they have changed the concession stands to now kiosk ordering, so that way they're taking
so they could lower the price of the hot dog, right?
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure that went down, or it was maybe to fight inflation. And so, to me, I'm like, okay, let's see if this actually makes anything any more efficient. And it just felt like it did the exact opposite, because then I had to hand the ticket. It printed off a ticket, and then I had to hand that to the person at the counter, who would take it and read it, and then I had to ask, like, wait, did you want that? And I'm like, if I had just given you this order from the get-go, you would know what I wanted. We wouldn't have to have this additional exchange. And also, like, it did not feel like it sped anything up. I'm trying to understand what the actual advantage that they might be getting from that is, because it just to me felt like it made customer service a little shittier without actually, I don't see the savings.
Is it just like, is it within the confines of the ballpark that this isn't working? I asked that because, like, the Shake Shack here, that's near us, we go occasionally, and they have order by kiosk only now. And it's remarkably simple from my perspective, and no cashier. There's no that front desk there is not manned by a person.
So when your order comes up, they say order number this is ready, right?
No. At the end of the order, there are little tags on the counter, and I pull up a tag. I picked up 86. I plug in 86. I can plug in my phone number to get texts too if I want, and then I go sit down at my table and put my little 86 tag on there, and someone comes out and brings us everything.
Oh, see, they're finishing the transaction then. Here, what they're doing is they're saying, okay, here's your receipt, and then you have to go take it and hand it to somebody who then has to go and process and read the receipt, and then go assemble your order together.
Duplicating work. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is like, once I put everything in the kiosk system, I pay and it's done.
Like, if I didn't immediately give them my ticket for my order, like, they never would have, like, prepped it.
Had you paid at that point?
Yes, I had paid. But they didn't get like a printout in the back or something that said put this together or anything.
How hard is that?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It felt like what's the point of this other than, like, you're trying to do something because you've heard that all these people are doing it. It's successful for you, but you haven't thought about the implementation of why it would work or how it would work. And the way you're doing it, I don't think is actually saving you any money inherently.
No, and I feel like the kiosk ordering at this point, there's a certain percentage of people, and I have no idea what it is, but ordering by kiosk and not having an in-person option just makes them flat angry.
Yeah.
So now, by having a kiosk-only system that
it might not matter, because they make more sales from the people who don't have the guilt of somebody being like, yeah, I'd like a large French fry and a large. So they're upselling a lot more is one thing I've heard. So the average check size.
Have you heard about the dynamic pricing?
Yeah, a little bit, but not much. What have you heard?
I also bits and pieces, but I don't know. I shouldn't actually use a name of a business because I don't know which one is or is not doing it. But
I think I know which one. Let me look one up.
I think there's at least one who, if you do it from your phone, they have you install the app, and therefore they have a whole bunch more data, right? And I forget the exact example, but something along the lines of, if your battery is 5%, they know you're going to be desperate to get this order in, right? And so you'll get charged more. there's a litany of possible examples, and I think where I got this information was sort of like just spitballing on the possibilities.
We just noticed you were at a dispensary.
Yes,
we bet you're not even going to be paying attention to price.
Yes, exactly. It's too true. So I think that's all interesting, and I think that's a thing that makes people angry. But at the same time, like, I don't know, does a Whopper cost less at 7:48 a.m.? I don't even know if they serve Whoppers.
Cost less to make?
No,
or
cost less to buy because there's no
demand. You
can't
even buy them at 7:48 a.m. most places because the lunch menu doesn't come on until a certain time. Okay, right? I don't know.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
So call it 10 or 11, whenever the.
Yeah. No, you're right. Like a peak rush hour at lunch. Do they charge?
Like, shouldn't a Whopper cost more at 12:01 than it does at 11:01? Should is
so now
like
this
too
comes
strong
down
of a word.
To this is an interesting question.
There's willingness to pay. Business school. Come on.
Right? Yeah, willingness to pay. And then there's ethics of it too, right? Is there an ethical side of this?
People can choose to go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Business is largely not in the business of, being philanthropic.
No,
illicitly,
but I'm saying we have a business that said our hamburger costs $2.50. Like we're willing to sell it for $2.50. I don't know. It just feels like we're turning everything into an auction. Are we just eventually going to end up with bazaars? Like, are we just going back to like? We're going back to a system of a mass bazaar where I'm going to go and haggle now. Like, screw that, Wendy's. I'm going to go over to McDonald's and they're like, "Who? I got $3. Who's going to give me a burger for $3? Which one are you? Can I flip it around?"
Whose LLM is going to be the best haggler, right? Like, if your Apple phone has the best haggling LLM to attack the McDonald's haggling LLM, then right?
Yeah, I like it. Like, let's go with it.
Because you went with Mark, and I'm like, humans are not. You know what I mean? Like, if we're like being deep on this like future, then it's not going to be human v human.
You're right. You're right. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn on the dynamic pricing thing around something like food. Around like.
So the business's next 10Q or whatever 10K or whatever is going to be listing out the risks in the business, and it's going to say something about like, well, if our LLM goes out of control, if our haggling LLM goes out of control, we might miss next quarter's profits or something.
We noticed you had a record revenue, but only made one sale. Is that correct? Why didn't you sell anything more? Well, you don't understand. We optimized, so it was one sale, but it was for $100 billion though.
Yeah, it was the whole quarter. We stopped.
Had a second sale happened, we wouldn't have been able to charge $100 million for the $100 billion for the first sale. So we kept it to just the one, and we are now just more of a concept of a burger company. Like we're
yeah, just dystopian quickly, Sorry, I interrupted you with my 10K joke.
No, that was fine. That was much better than anything I had to say. Oh. Yeah, I think the chain I had heard about, they have a mascot with red hair. I don't know.
Yeah, they used to have a really good Twitter account.
I don't
know if they still do or not, but they're real snarky.
That sounds right.
Yeah,
I think there was a golden age there of 20 somethings running social media accounts for all these big brands.
500, yeah.
where things just got a little like people weren't paying that close of attention. They didn't really the big brands didn't really fully understand it yet, and so I think people could get away with stuff, and now I think a little less so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anything else we want to talk about? So, practically speaking, when are you thinking to make these decisions on the Philippines by?
Oh yeah. Well, Monday's a holiday. Tuesday, I was going to call, it's not like I don't have to go to a specific doctor. I have to call this division that does vaccines for Kaiser. So I'll call them and see what the turnaround time is, both on getting in and then some of these vaccines are 8 weeks, right? You got to get in there and do one, and then you got to wait 4 weeks, and then you got to get another one, and then you're immune by 6 or 8 weeks.
That's true. I hadn't even thought about that shit.
Yeah. So the rest of my answers are stemming off of that.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, more research needed is a fair answer. I was just curious if you had any semblance of info that I could share, because I don't care so much, but Jamie really likes to know details to the pinpoint degree as far in advance as possible. She does not deal well with uncertainty, is what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah.
Whereas I'm like, you want to go tomorrow? Okay, let's fucking do it. Vaccines, what? That will be fine.
Be fine. I mean, mostly I think that is the answer, you know? Like if you stay to the cities, you're mostly just fine. Like stay to the cities and only drink bottled water, only brush your teeth with bottled water, and don't let anything into your mouth in the shower. No,
what about
it's
the glory
sneaky,
hole?
dude.
Wait,
like,
no.
Yeah. I've been on great behavior and then ended up, puking my heart out in the hotel for 3 days, right? Like,
yeah.
I have no idea.
I would prefer to avoid that if at all possible, because I'm going to be there for whatever, a week or something. So
something like that. Yeah. My follow-up question to the Philippines trip basically is, do we want to do a Vietnam or something in addition? I don't know how that's going to fly over here with me being gone that long.
That's the thing. I don't know that I can necessarily get that long of a duration off of work.
Yeah. Okay.
Although I could probably work remotely from the Philippines a couple of days. I'd have to lug my laptop that's 95 pounds, but I got stuck with an engineering laptop because my laptop died, and then our ordering system was messed up, and one came in and it's like, okay, this is better than nothing, but it's
this one. Yeah.
But it's here, you could run a full 3D simulation of a downhole scenario on this if you want. Cool. It'll handle my spreadsheet then? All right, we're good. Man, it weighs 50 pounds.
Yeah.
No, but let me check with my boss on that. I'll run that by her. See if hey, if I'm thinking about taking a week to go to the Philippines, maybe a little extra time. How this will be run there? As long as I'm back for early December, which is when we have our ISO audit, or in time to prepare for that, I probably Q4 won't be too busy for us. Usually it's pretty slow around here.
All right.
I say that it's not slow. It's just it doesn't feel as busy.
Yeah. Well, if so let's work on the vaccine thing. You talk to your boss about like getting a week and a half or something.
Yeah. Because I honestly would love, if we're already halfway across the world, why not fly a few more hours and see something else?
That's the hardest part. Is like once you're over there, you need, like, it's so much faster to keep going.
Yeah.
To make 2 trips, it's like I'm aiming for 4 days in the Philippines, but you're still gone for 6 or 7 days because it's 30 hours of travel each way, right?
So while we're talking loosely about the Philippines, the one thing I did come up with this week that I thought was entertaining was I developed a strategic planning session for Jamie's team at work. Next time I'll run you through that. I'm like, oh, that would be fun. I'm sure it wouldn't at all apply to anything that Dan does in his team, but I bet he might have some input.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Are you gonna like anonymize it, I assume?
Well, no. It's just like they're trying to figure out. They have like these very specific goals they have to deal with at work, and in terms of like state standards and stuff, and then they have to develop content around those, and then they have their internal goals around like when content should be developed. And they were struggling figuring out how to strategize and develop like an actual method for getting these things done. And so her boss called for like a 2-day offsite, and Jamie said, this is going to be a waste of time. These are always a waste of time. We never get anything out of these. And I say, well, why not? She says, well, we just get in there and everybody just bitches for 2 days. And I say, well, that sounds to me like nobody's thought about it.
Yeah.
Like beforehand. She's like, no, not at all. And so I just said, well, first off, you should everybody have come in doing some homework. And this is what the homework should look like. And then day 1 should be A, B, C. Day 2 should be C, D, E. And then F is your take home work after that to follow up and execute. She's like, oh my God, that would actually work. And I was like, okay, let me write this all out for you. So I was like, yeah, sweet. This is like, there's some of these things that we do in these big companies that sometimes we're too big for these things to even work effectively, but I'm curious to see how it works at a smaller group. Like, will this work at a smaller level? Because for us,
I mean, it still has a lot to do with buy-in and the people actually producing. Right. Like if everyone honestly still shows up empty-handed on day 1, it's like, oh, okay.
That's the biggest part of anything is just the buy-in from the people participating. Yeah. If everybody just wants to turn into a gripe session, they will. Sorry, I don't know what made me think of that. Anyway.
No, it's fun.
Yeah, I would be totally down for if you can sell it to Shell and want to take a couple extra days, I'd be totally down for trying to make that happen.
Okay. I'll plug away on that. And,
okay.
The only way, well, I mean, the reason I would be going is to like look at and/or meet factories, right? So if I can't find, like I need to make a list, go through them, probably open up contact via email, see if they make stuff that we want and then, or capable, and then kind of whittle it down to like
go to visit some factories,
3 visits
totally
or something.
in for that shit. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Because it's either Vietnam or Mexico. Those are my answers. And I haven't been to Mexico, so I shouldn't make any judgments. But I like Vietnam a lot.
I like Mexico's all right for certain things.
Yeah, I have no doubts. Just haven't been. So that's why I preface that. I'm like, I'm not judging Mexico. It's just I haven't even been. But I've been to Vietnam twice, and I love it. So it's like exciting to think about going. But then you have kids, and it's like, wouldn't it be nice to be able to just like hop on a 3-hour flight and then do your thing and then be back and like not have jet lag? That's I know.
Well, hey, I think I told you next June if you guys want to join us, you're welcome to for a couple days in Mazatlan.
Do you know where Merida is? Did I already tell you? We have some friends moving there or moved there.
Do you know
it's
where
out
Merida
on the
is?
Yucatan. It's maybe an hour away from the beach or something. Like it's inland a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, it looks like a really cool town and not like a expat enclave in any way. But they got 3 kids and they're going for it. So I'm proud of them. It's cool.
Yeah, I think I could bug out and do that at some point. Just move to some cheap place to live
but still have city. Like that's what, after kind of like looking at it and talking to them, like what they're getting seems pretty awesome. You're not like giving much up,
Okay. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Like, I guess, I don't know. Like, I'm dubious because I think there's a lot that you give up there in small details.
Well, language, culture, sense of connection and home, community. Yeah, you're giving up like some
being able to find your favorite kind of cheese at the grocery store.
See what's important on Sean's list. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. It's all Pepsi. No, I'm call back for loyal listeners there.
I mean it. Yes, but man, it's so everything's a trade-off. That's what it all comes down to.
Yeah, exactly. But I am proud of anybody that does it, and I more and more dreaming of just being like, let's go to Puerto Rico or let's go to Mexico and just call it a day. Done with this place.
It's not, and for you, what you mean is like done with this place. It's not even like the sense of America. It's just more the rat race that we all have to live in order to live in a city and pay the bills. And
don't let me make this feel unpatriotic. It's just that I know my dollars will go a lot further there, and like you can just be like, okay, I'm tired of 50 plus hour weeks with 42 hours worth of meetings in them. Like I'm just done with it.
Yeah.
And yet here on the weekend, I am meeting with you. Like it's
different. I hope
it is. I look forward to this one.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, we say adios to our listeners for the week. Thank you everybody for tuning in again to another episode of Unqualified Advice. You can always catch us as usual on x.com at Daniel Hatke and at SlowVSM. Feel free to reach out to us there, and we'll tune in with you next time.
Peace.